Alright, currently this is my personal machine. I showed a video a while ago where I upgraded the slides to use the new aluminum slides that I came up with and the nice clamps. Been happy with that. I changed my tracking system to get something a little smoother and more accurate. Then, where's that other thing at? It's in the trash. That's what I had on there before. It just wasn't smooth or accurate enough. This is a lot smoother. Better design. We got shoulder bolts in there. Everything is really nice. Doesn't take any effort to adjust the tracking. The other one I was having to use a pair of pliers. And this is just a piece of cheap all thread. If I were to use like a grade 8 all thread rod in there, it would be even smoother. Put a piece of steel in there because I don't want it to wear on the aluminum right in there, so I bonded a piece of steel in. This is my guide setup. When I set up the guide, when I get ready to do some knives, what I'll do is I center the guide on my platen or on my wheel, so that when I come to a point, or so that the center point of the belt is the same, and I can put a mark on my carrier and know that when I get, say, to the edge, if I put the mark so it's here, or maybe to the edge of the there on the platen, wherever I put the mark, when I get to that point on either side, I know that it's the same distance. And I use this on mine. I just use this 1/4 inch little bar, and it slips in there, and it's a 2.5 inch slot cut out in the guide, and so I can get that 1/4 inch bar on both sides of my platen just right. And I'm gonna set up, I set up to do a little grinding. I really need a tripod for this kind of video. Alright, I set up to do some grinding on these. I have a bunch of them yet. They're all heat treated. I need to get the finished bevels on them, polish the bevel up. So what I did is I set that in there. Have my, you can see at the tip of the carrier right there, the little shelf, that's the spacer plate that the carrier will ride on. And then I just set the slide clamp so that these are snug. Earlier I had a straight edge across the platen, and then I set these two fixed angles here so that they were parallel across the face of the platen. And that's something that you really don't need to do real often, unless you bump one of those angles and get it out of position. Once you set those, you can tighten that up and they'll be good for most of your sets, probably. So I'm going to use this to start putting the I'm going to do the finish grind up to 220 on these edges, on these bevels. You can see there's a little bit of meat left. There you can see there's a little bit of meat left after heat treatment, and I'll run that down with 220 to get down to the thickness that I want, and then I'll do that, of course, on a contact wheel, so I maintain my bevel. And then I will put the platen back in and set it to do the cutting edge. And I do the same motion for the cutting edge, just passing it through there. I've been using I've done a couple 12 to 15 degree cutting edges. Really makes for a sharp knife. Good for slicing. Not so good probably for whittling, but it's a real good meat and skin knife, I think.